You know that feeling when you walk into a room full of people and suddenly forget how to do basic human things? Like you forget what to do with your hands. Do they go in pockets? Do you cross your arms? Do you just let them hang there like limp noodles? And then you try to say hello, but it comes out as a weird croak, and you spend the next 3 hours wondering if everyone noticed that you breathed slightly too loud. If you're nodding your head right now, or if the mere thought of making small talk with a stranger makes you want to hide under a weighted blanket for a decade, then we need to talk. We are going to dive into a book that is basically the survival guide for anyone who feels like their social skills have atrophied into dust. It is called Our New Social Life: Science-Backed Strategies for Creating Meaningful Connection, written by Jaime Kurtz and Natalie Kerr. Now, don't let the title scare you. It sounds academic, but really it's a rescue manual for those of us who spent way too much time in isolation and forgot that other human beings are actually quite necessary for our survival. The authors are psychologists, which means they have the data to prove that your brain is lying to you about how awkward you are. Here's the problem. We are social creatures. We are built to connect. But somewhere along the way, between the rise of smartphones and the global pause button we all hit a few years ago, we started treating social interaction like it was a dangerous extreme sport. We started viewing a coffee date like it was a tightrope walk over a pit of alligators. We got comfortable in our bubbles. But the science says that while the bubble is safe, the bubble is also making us miserable. We need to break out, but we need to do it without having a panic attack in the produce aisle. So, I have broken this book down into the absolute essentials. We're going to look at the key lessons that will take you from being a social hermit crab to someone who can actually handle a dinner party without hiding in the bathroom to look at memes on your phone. Let's kick this off with the first big lesson, and honestly, this is the one that blew my mind. It's called the liking gap. Here's the scenario. You meet someone new, you talk for maybe 10 minutes, you discuss the weather, maybe a TV show, or how overpriced avocados are. Standard stuff. Then you walk away, and immediately your brain starts the autopsy. You think, oh man, I talked too much. I made a weird joke about cheese. I probably had spinach in my teeth. That person definitely thinks I'm a weirdo. Well, Jaime Kurtz and Natalie Kerr are here to tell you that you are dead wrong. This is the liking gap. Research consistently shows that we systematically underestimate how much people like us after a conversation. We walk away thinking we scored a solid D- on the interaction, while the other person actually walked away thinking, hey, that person was cool. I'd give them a B+. Think of it like looking in a funhouse mirror. You see yourself all distorted and weird, but everyone else just sees you. We're so busy obsessing over our own performance, judging every little stutter or pause, that we forget the other person isn't grading us. They're usually just relieved that you were nice to them. It's like when you invite people over and you're stressing out because the baseboards aren't dusted. Nobody looks at your baseboards. They're just happy you gave them free snacks. So, the next time you think you bombed a conversation, tell your brain to shut up. The science says you did better than you think. Now, let's move on to lesson number 2, which is all about the people you barely know. The authors call this the power of weak ties. We tend to think that social health is all about our inner circle. You know, your partner, your best friend from 3rd grade, your mom. We put all our energy into these deep, heavy relationships. And sure, those are important, but the book argues that we're neglecting a massive source of happiness, which is the weak tie. These are the acquaintances, the barista who knows your order, the mail carrier, the person you see at the dog park every Tuesday who has the pug that breathes funny. We usually treat these people like non-player characters in a video game. We just breeze past them to get to the main quest. But the research shows that brief, positive interactions with strangers or acquaintances actually give us a massive mood boost. It makes us feel seen. It makes us feel like we're part of a community, not just lone wolves wandering the tundra. Think of your social life like a diet. Your best friends and family are the protein and the carbs. You need them to survive. But the weak ties, they're the vitamins. You might think you can live without them, but eventually you get scurvy. You get social scurvy. Talking to the cashier about their day isn't just polite, it's actually a little hit of dopamine for both of you. It validates your existence. So stop treating strangers like obstacles in your path and start treating them like potential sources of energy. Just a simple hello or comment about the long line can change the trajectory of your entire afternoon.
This brings us nicely to lesson number 3, which is a direct attack on your ego, but in a good way. It's called the spotlight effect. We walk through life with this main character energy, thinking everyone is watching us. If you trip on the sidewalk, you assume the entire street saw it and is currently tweeting about it. If you wear a shirt with a small stain, you spend the whole day covering it up, convinced that everyone is staring at that one spot. Kurtz and Kerr explain that this is a cognitive bias. We think the spotlight is on us, shining bright, highlighting every flaw and mistake. But the reality, everyone else is walking around in their own spotlight. They're too busy worrying about their own stains, their own awkward comments, and their own problems to notice yours. Imagine you go to a gym. You're terrified because you think everyone is judging your form or how much you're sweating. You think you're the center of attention. But look around. The guy in the corner is staring at his biceps in the mirror. The woman on the treadmill is watching a cooking show on her iPad. Nobody is looking at you. You're essentially an extra in the movie of their life. And I know realizing you're not the center of the universe sounds a bit depressing, but actually it's incredibly liberating. It means you can make mistakes, you can have a bad hair day, you can say something slightly dumb, and nobody cares. The stakes are so much lower than you think. You are free to be imperfect because the audience isn't watching you, they're watching themselves. Before we get to the next strategy, which is about how to actually make plans that don't suck, I want to take a quick second to ask you a favor. If you're enjoying this, and if you've ever felt personally victimized by your own social awkwardness, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps the channel, and it makes me feel like we have a connection, even if it's a weak tie. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on more life advice that might save you from becoming a hermit. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Here's my question. What is the most awkward thing you've done in public recently that keeps you up at night? I'll start. I once waved at someone who wasn't waving at me, and I had to turn it into a hair fix. It was tragic. Let me know your stories down below. All right, let's get back to it. Lesson number 4 is about intentionality, or as I like to call it, the death of we should hang out sometime. How many times have you run into someone and said, "Oh my God, we should totally grab coffee," and then you never ever do it? It's the biggest lie in modern society. We treat social plans like they're going to magically manifest out of thin air. We wait for the perfect moment. We wait for spontaneity. The book argues that spontaneity is overrated and frankly inefficient. If you want a social life, you have to treat it like a project. You need to schedule. You need to put it on the calendar. Waiting for the mood to strike is like waiting for your laundry to fold itself. It's not going to happen. You need to be the architect of your social life. This means sending the text. It means picking a specific date and time. Instead of saying, "Let's hang out soon," you say, "Are you free next Thursday at 6 p.m. for tacos?" It's scary because it opens you up to rejection, but it's the only way things actually happen. Also, you need to plan activities. Sitting across from someone and just staring at them while drinking liquid can be intense. This is why activities are great. Go for a walk, visit a museum, go throw axes at a wooden target. When you have a shared activity, it takes the pressure off the conversation. If you run out of things to say, you can just talk about the axe. It's a safety net. So stop being vague, be specific. Be the cruise director of your own life. Now, lesson number 5 is a tricky one because it goes against our instincts. It's called the vulnerability and the beautiful mess effect. On social media, we're trained to present the highlight reel. We show the perfect vacation, the perfect meal, the good hair day. We hide the messy parts. But the authors explain that perfection is actually a barrier to connection. It's intimidating. It's boring. Nobody bonds over how perfect their lives are. We bond over the mess. We bond over the fact that we both have no idea how to file our taxes, or that we both killed our plants, or that we both have irrational fears of clowns. This is the beautiful mess effect. We tend to view other people's vulnerability as brave and endearing, but we view our own as weakness. Science says that showing your flaws makes you more likable. It's called the pratfall effect. If a competent person spills coffee on themselves, people actually like them more than the person who never spills. It makes you human. It makes you approachable. So, the strategy here is to drop the mask a little bit. You don't have to trauma dump on the cashier at the grocery store. Please don't do that. But with your friends, admit when things are tough. Admit when you're struggling. It gives them permission to do the same. It turns a superficial interaction into a real connection. Think of it like furniture. A pristine white velvet couch. It's beautiful, but nobody wants to sit on it because they're terrified of ruining it. A worn-in leather armchair, that's where you want to hang out. Be the leather armchair. Be comfortable. Be a little worn. That's where the connection happens. Lesson number 6 is the one that's going to hurt the most. We have to talk about your phone. This concept is called phubbing. Phubbing is phone snubbing. It's when you're physically present with someone, but mentally you're scrolling through Instagram looking at a video of a raccoon eating a grape. We all do it. The phone buzzes and we have this Pavlovian response to check it. But Kurtz and Kerr lay out the cold, hard data. The mere presence of a phone on the table reduces the quality of the conversation, even if it's face down, even if it's on silent. Just seeing the device reminds our brains that there's a whole world of other options, other people, and other dopamine hits just inches away. It makes the person in front of you feel less important.
It sends a subconscious signal that says, I am hanging out with you, but I am keeping my options open in case something better comes up. It is the rudest thing we have normalized. The strategy here is simple but painful. Put the rectangle away. Keep it in your bag. Leave it in the other room. If you're having dinner, make a rule. First person to check their phone pays the bill. When you remove the digital crutch, you are forced to actually be present. You are forced to deal with the silence. And guess what? That is where the magic happens. That is where deep conversations start. You can't build a meaningful connection if you are constantly checking to see if you got a notification from an app you don't even like. Finally, let's talk about lesson number 7, the art of savoring. We are often so focused on what's next that we forget to enjoy what is happening right now. We're at a party, but we're thinking about the drive home. We're having coffee, but we're worrying about work. The authors talk about the importance of savoring social moments. This means actively appreciating the good stuff while it is happening. It's about taking a mental snapshot. When you're laughing with your friends, take a second to step back and think, man, this is really nice. This does 2 things. 1, it encodes the memory better in your brain so you can look back on it when you are feeling lonely. And 2, it boosts your mood in the moment. It's like turning up the volume on the good times. We spend so much time ruminating on the bad stuff, the awkward comments, the rejections, that we need to actively work to balance the scales by dwelling on the good stuff. Did you have a nice chat with your neighbor? Savor it. Did your friend send you a funny meme? Savor it. Don't just let these moments slip through your fingers like water. Catch them. Hold on to them. They're the fuel that keeps your social engine running. So where does this leave us? We've covered a lot of ground. We learned that people like us more than we think, so we should stop beating ourselves up. We learned that talking to strangers is basically a superpower for happiness. We learned that nobody is looking at our flaws because they're too busy looking at their own. We learned to make concrete plans, to embrace our messy lives, to hide our phones, and to actually enjoy the moment. The big takeaway from our new social life is that connection isn't something that just happens to you. It is a skill. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, it gets weak. A lot of us are walking around with weak social muscles right now. We're stiff, we're sore, we're a little uncoordinated, and that's okay. You don't have to become a charismatic extrovert overnight. You don't have to host a gala or give a TED Talk. You just have to start small. Here is my final piece of advice for you, and it is the simplest thing in the world. Lower the bar. We build these huge walls of expectation around social interaction. We think it has to be profound or hilarious or perfect. It doesn't. It just has to be real. Next time you're out, just smile at someone. Ask a question. Send that text you've been overthinking for 3 days. The worst thing that happens is it's a little awkward for 5 seconds. The best thing that happens, you make a friend, you feel a little less alone, and you remember that being human is actually kind of fun. The science is on your side. The odds are in your favor. People want to connect with you. They're just waiting for you to make the first move. So go out there, be a little brave, be a little messy, and for the love of everything, leave your phone in your pocket. Thanks for listening.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me about your awkward moments in the comments. I read them all, mostly to make myself feel better about my own life. Go make some connections. You've got this.